This is In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Rhoda. One's a mental toughness coach who also helps riders with recovery. The other, a horseman with soul, who is also a marriage counselor for the rider and horses. Together, they dive beyond ribbons and rankings to where real riders train, the mind. From elite arenas to quiet barns, this show is about the mental edge, the recovery rhythm, and the heart that keeps you in sync with your horse and yourself. So whether you're tuning in from the tack room or the open road, saddle up. You're in the zone now.
Welcome back to In the Zone, where we dive into the minds of high performers, relentless competitors, and those who turn pressure into purpose. I'm Ian Robb.
And I'm Dancin Rhoda. And today we've got a guest whose name is Greg Williams. Woo, a mouthful.
Greg didn't just build a program, he built a legacy. From a humble club team to 6 national championships at Auburn, Greg turned vision into victory and culture into dominance.
He's mentored 122 All-Americans, changed the format of the sports itself, and still found time to make it personal for every rider who wore that Auburn logo.
Today, we get into the mindset of champions builder, how to build culture, coach pressure, and stay grounded through nearly 3 decades of wins, losses, and growth.
It's leadership, it's legacy, it's a masterclass in what it means to be in the zone.
Let's get into it with the legendary Greg Williams. Hey, Greg, nice to have you.
Hey, it's good to be on here.
I'm not going to do your bio. Everyone knows who you are, so we're just going to go right into the questions. If that's
okay. All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have fun today. We're going to ask you 7 to 11 questions, because we always joke and say we're always working. We're always enjoying what we're doing, not really working, because we're open all the time.
Okay.
For a minute period. We're going to do some bonus questions. You never know. So for your first question, Greg, to In the Zone is, Coach, you built the Auburn program from the ground up. What vision did you hold onto in those early days that kept you building, even before the first championship win?
Well, in the very beginning, I started a rodeo team and an equestrian team at the same time. College equestrian, wasn't a household name then. At the time, I really thought the rodeo team might be the bigger deal at Auburn. But then as this group grew, and the girls kept working harder and harder, and I had some conversations with the athletic director about it becoming a varsity sport at Auburn. And the one thing that, as far as vision goes, the one thing that I did tell this group of girls, this group of 5 girls I started it with, I did tell them that it was going to be in the first year's control. I said, but what we do now can impact kids that haven't even started school yet. And so that's the one thing that we kept looking is way out into the future. And we still try to really push that. And to me, that's the fun part of life, though, is putting dreams out there and chasing them. So the cool thing about that, though, is we won one of our national championships that we won. We had just opened our brand new basketball arena, and they had me come talk to a group of Auburn supporters and donors and fans after we'd won that national championship. And I was speaking, and I had some of my seniors there, and I just roughly did the math. And those seniors that were there that had just won a national championship were the ones that were in kindergarten when I told those first 5 girls, you're going to be impacting girls that hadn't even started school yet. And, here we got girls that are on scholarship, had a fantastic career, and also putting a national championship ring on. And so that was a really fun moment.
Coach, you have 122 All-Americans. Why do you coach?
Well, to me, starting it at Auburn, and I love Auburn, period. Getting back to Auburn, I just never thought I'd be able to do it in the horse business. And I found a way with running the horse program in Auburn. Then later on, starting a team, and just became full about coaching. So I tell people that now that I'm head coach emeritus, and we've got Coach Jessica Braswell, who's been with me for 20 years, is now the head coach. I just never want to leave. I tell people that the last thing I want to hear on earth is point Auburn. Then they can drag me out of the arena and bury me somewhere. But I just always want to be involved. But I want the right people in place. I want to see the program grow. I always want to help with that. But I know my roles may change through the years, but I just never want to not be involved.
Great. Coach, great. In your opinion, what makes a rider not just good, but truly great in the collegiate format?
Well, the one thing that we look for are those that have a lot of experience on a lot of different horses. Basically the ones that we're getting are the mini professionals. We're, not just clients. Clients might have the limited number of rides, but the one thing that probably what helps more than anything is having trainers' kids or professionals' kids. The exposure's been one thing, the number of horses they've ridden, but also they're very used to the truth. If they rode like crap that day, their parents don't mind telling them that. And that's one thing that we can, we can find out really fast from them versus some that, if they're just clients, sometimes they get told a lot of what they want to hear. And so, and it's not all of them. And that's something that, I tell people all the time. If you're working with a trainer, one thing you need to do is sit down with whoever your money backer is, usually parents, and say, I want to pay for honesty. They don't have to be harsh on them, doesn't have to but just be honest with them. And if you really want to get better, you've got to be able to take that honesty and build on it. And because when you're riding the same horse like we do in the NCAA, and you're going head to head against, these top riders, if you've been delusional about your training, if you've been delusional about your talent, or your effort, then it's going to show.
On that note of going to SEC and the top national programs you have, how do you take these high school kids and put them in there and keep them confident and compliant as a student as well as an athlete?
The one thing that we've got in our sport is we've got most of them, if they're as successful as they are, that we're recruiting them. They've come from a household with high expectations, and that's the number one indicator of success in college, our expectations from home. Without it, they can still do it, but if the expectations from home are big, they can still do it. So we get a lot of pressure from back home that the grades stay up, that they're focused on that, and so they excel very well in that. Being a college athlete is not an excuse for any kind of bad grades. You can talk about being busy, but our girls are busy. They probably have to do more outside work, with the barn work and the work with the horses than most any other athlete would have to do. And that doesn't count against your 20 hours, They do a lot of that, and yet they still have a great social life, and they can pull it all together. But it's obviously some time management and some structure. But I think a lot of what we've got is just a great product and the type of athletes that we're recruiting.
Greg, I used to see these tennis parents carry all the tennis bags and everything like that for the kids.
Yeah.
And then if the kid ever loses, then he's got to carry that stuff back, and the parents are angling or walking around, all that good stuff. But let's ask another question. Auburn's culture is legendary. What were some non-negotiables you instilled from day one, and how did they evolve over time?
The one thing that we talked about is, from the very beginning is earning it. I like teams with grit. I don't, like trying to live in past accolades. I did always say we're going to outwork every team. We made sure our workouts were extremely tough. It wasn't just because it does physical conditioning matters in every sport. And as these sports mature, the talent gets closer and closer. Well, the one thing that happens when the talent equals out, the last advantage goes to the most fit. So I'm a big believer in that. But the bigger piece, I think, is the mental part of that. When they get to push together as a team like that, because you're taking an individual sport and all of a sudden now they've got to push together. Well, in practice, it's still, next to football, we're the next largest team. So we got different arenas going in different sections. But in those workouts is when they're all together and they're all having to pull in the same direction. And what it does for them mentally, that piece is big. So I would say that working together, building a strong team, our punishments, if you're late to workouts, by late means if you're not 5 minutes early, then you'd have your own special punishment workout if you're not 5 minutes early, like at 4:30 in the morning instead of 5:30. Then the second one is the whole team would get it. So I think only once in our history have we ever gotten to the third. The third is you get the whole team gets it, but you sit in a chair and watch them. So I think only one time in history somebody made it to that third strike, and then they were dismissed from the team after that anyway. So they keep each other accountable, and listen, we don't mind mistakes. We don't mind. Things happen, but just own up to it and move on.
So, Coach, with all these streaks that you have, the success, the following year, how do you reset the team to not be, have a big head, or how do you get them motivated? Because hey, we're good. We don't need to be motivated.
Well, that's an interesting question for us right now. I feel like we hit that this year, that we fumbled on that. Well, I mean, we were a really dominant team this year. I think I even overheard people saying, they predicted Auburn to win the national championship. And in the opening round, we're playing your alma mater, Georgia. We felt good, felt like we were going to win. We saw a Georgia team come out that we hadn't seen, I mean, in a long time. Same girls, same coaches. And I don't like losing, but I have held up that Georgia team this year as an example of sports. I think they knew they weren't afraid to play us, but they knew that we were a good team. And they came out like we have never seen them ride before. And then they turned around, went right on and beat Texas A&M the next day. Texas A&M, it was usually on their record, usually beating Georgia, and they didn't score a single point in the jumping seat side against Georgia. Georgia put on a clinic, pick on the jumping seat. The whole deal. They go straight to the championships. They win a national championship like that. And that was a great example of just mental fight. And I just feel like ever since COVID, we had been just running really dominant. And I think if we'd have played in that COVID year, I think that'd have been probably one of our best national championships. Had a great set of judges. We were undefeated. A great, tough mindset, some really tough seniors. And so I think that's a big part of it is your leadership within the team. And, COVID was a reset for everybody. And I think we're rebounding from that. And I think this year's the first year since 2017 that we didn't win a championship ring, whether it's an SEC or a national championship or both. And I hate it, but I think it's also probably a good reset for us. And
good mistake, good loss.
The year
get better.
Yeah, the years that we're winning back to back, it is hard. Repeats are hard. We had pulled off things that had never happened in the sport before, undefeated seasons, and we've done it twice. But a lot of that was holding the bar steady. You have to keep a high bar, but you've got to hold them to it. I think that's been harder for coaches, for teachers, for business owners ever since COVID. It's been everybody I've talked to in every industry. It's been a challenge. So I think part of what was tough for us was sort of being at a good, easy spot during that. And then we're resetting. We got to get our fear back. I think you don't want to be afraid of competition. You want to be confident. But I think you also got to be worried that somebody's going to take it from you. And so that's where we're getting back to now.
You're building this great team and shaping the sport at the same time. What are you most proud of that you have shaped in other teams or in the sport itself?
Or in the NCEA?
All right, again, Pete, I get to talk about your alma mater. Probably the highlight for me is David Housel was our athletic director, and he said, you got to get for you to go varsity, you're going to have to get some other teams in the SEC to go with you. So I'd spent time with Larry Templeton at Mississippi State. They even put it in the papers they were announcing. Years of working on this. They announced it before us in Georgia. I spent a lot of time with Georgia working with them. So highlights for me is Vince Dooley used to call me about once a week. When I was trying to go varsity and I was trying to get Georgia to go varsity. And Vince Dooley is an icon in sports, but what a lot of people didn't know is he was a quarterback at Auburn. So he was an Auburn guy, then became a famous Auburn or famous Georgia coach. And one of my good friends, and actually somebody that was alongside me when I started this team, was Coach Pat Dye, was a famous Georgia player that became a famous Auburn coach. So we had that crossover. So it was an honor for me to get to talk to Vince Dooley a lot and just pick his brain. But he would call me once a week. You remember his slow drawl was, Coach, let me tell you what my naysayers are telling me. And I would correct him on the information he's getting. He'd say, that's what I need to know. And, about once a week we'd get to chat. And so that was a fun part. I'll get probably my biggest piece is going to this new format was probably one of the greatest honors that was hard to do. And I love the IHSA, and we've started an IHSA program again at Auburn that works out same place we do. But I wanted something that mirrored the other sports. And if you actually look at our head-to-head and scoring, it's a little bit like tennis. When in the college tennis, when you win a match, well, then Auburn gets 1 point. So our head-to-head, Auburn gets 1 point, and that's what we went to. I just wanted to take the horses out of the equation. I didn't want it to be luck of the draw. Just wanted to get the best riders, go against the best riders, and that's it. No low levels, just the best riders against the best riders, and go head-to-head on the same set of horses and let the chips fall then. So through time, we finally got that done. Again, that was Vince Dooley, or actually Hoke Wilder, who worked under Vince Dooley. Hoke really jumped on board with me on that, and so that was a big help. The other thing that I guess that I like is, Alabama's not a big horse state, and the school that I love and the sport that I love is really known all over the country now. So that is something that makes me proud. That's riders all over the country know about Auburn University's equestrian team.
I have to say, I've been over there, and their fans and their parents, the cheering that goes on, the excitement, the synergy, the energy is amazing. So you've done that quite well.
Well, hopefully we're about to take that to another notch
So
this
what
year.
year started all this? Because I was in college from 90 to 96.
You were?
Yes.
Yeah, I started it in 96 here, and we were a club team. George already had a club team, and theirs got bigger right about that time, around 96 to 98. They went varsity at 2002, the same year we did. I mean, that was part of my deal. I had to get somebody to go with us. Mississippi State backed out at the last minute. So,
they haven't been the same since, apparently. So,
well, I still hopefully it'll be a good addition for them. It's our deal too. Is it's great for our teaching program. There's a lot of things that we get to build synergy on and fun together. So it's been a good marriage for Auburn for sure.
Coach Greg, how do you balance tradition with innovation, especially a sport like equestrian, where the horse world can be deeply noted in the way it's always been?
About balance and tradition? Oh, yeah, no, that's probably a good point. I think that college riding has to have its own identity. I mean, there's so many segments of the equestrian world. There is, you're just not going to have that kind of hollering and screaming and fun that you're going to have at a college match at a regular horse show. The biggest thing that's the difference that everybody has to realize is in the show world, it's competitor driven. College sports is fan base driven. So if you're not playing to the fan base, you're not going to make it. It's you go to the AQHA, USEF events and all that. Well, it's competitor driven. They're doing everything themselves, whether there's nobody in the stands or not. If you've got nobody in the stands in college, and you're going to start getting in trouble for funding.
So your daughters, your granddaughters are all connected to Auburn.
Well, both my daughters are graduated from Auburn, and my grandkids are, my oldest is 8 years old. He's got a bit to go before he gets, but so they're not really connected to Auburn yet, but except for that,
they definitely go to a lot of the meets. So that's
except for that, they all say War Eagle.
So having that, and you have shaped the athletic, become part of your family legacy. So how does that make you feel?
It's been amazing for me. My kids kind of grew up with this, in this sport. And my daughter wrote something really nice. I mean, she just posted on Facebook one time. She was just kind of downloading her feelings about how she actually used to have a sense of jealousy about the girls on the team and about the time I was away. And I mean, we would be paying people to take care of our kids and take them to events and all that, because I was always with other people's kids. And she remembers one time when she was, that she had to go to a meet with us. She was furious that she had to do that. She said, well, I'm not sitting with those obnoxious girls, the obnoxious ones on the team, which is right where I put her. And that group of girls actually were all in her wedding. They became great friends of hers. So, when she got their passion, and she was on the team then in college, and she she fell in love with it.
So after 28 seasons of wins, how do you get people in the zone?
So one thing that I just really believe in is not getting in the zone the day of. I mean, it's all about prep. It's a process. You got to buy into the process. And to go back to, I feel like that's where we fumbled at the end. We've got girls they're really talented, great attitudes. Everything has been right. And I kept thinking, what has happened the past couple of years, just right on their biggest platform when we don't ride like we have all year. And I think we just sort of let the process change a little bit. It should be just, this is what's next. And if you ever look at Michael Phelps' training regimen, I mean, that was one of the best that I've ever seen described. It's just what you do next. Everything is just this. Winning is just what you do next. It's just part of the process. You also train for everything, all the uncertainties. We try to do that in. Still another thing I stole from Michael Phelps. He had a leaky goggle one time and set a world record, and everybody was just freaking out. How do you win the race with something like that going on? And he said, we practice for it. He said, sometimes in the middle of my reps, the coach would just shut all the lights out in the pool. And he said, so you're swimming in the pitch black and you've still got to nail everything every turn. So it's all, he said, I practice for it. So we do try to take into, that all into account. But the zone, I think, is what you do in the process, not in the end.
You know,
He sounds like Coach Prime. I'm excited. I'm a big Coach Prime fan on how he motivates his players, gets them ready for everything. So it sounds like you're very similar to him.
And whether you ask this question or not, I want to hit it. This is the biggest problem we have right now in today's world is this fallacy of watching videos. And I love videos. I love hype. I love sports hype. But watching this pump up video, watching somebody work out hard doesn't make you better. If it makes you go put your shoes on and get out the door and run, it does. But there seems to be this fallacy that people think they can watch somebody else doing something and it's made them better. And that's not true. The guy on the video got better. The woman on the video doing this extreme workout got better, but you did. I think that there's, we got a little bit of a gap on what really, when the hard work has to get put in. I mean, there's not a fear that somebody's outworking you like there used to be. And it's not a sports thing even. This is what I think. When I talk to parents out there, make your kid's life tough. How about that? Just, quit answering their questions on the cell phone, let them bump their head some. And yes, it's going to cost you time and money when you don't answer the question for them, but that's our job. That's our job.
I told somebody I mowed till 12 because we're doing filming at the farm I take care of.
Uh-huh.
And I mowed till 12 midnight. And I wouldn't have said that to any of my buddies because that would have been like, so why didn't you go until it was done? So
yeah. And there's too many today that think at 4:45, if it wasn't done, then, that's just too bad. They're going to have to film with the tall grass.
That's right.
That's, and I mean, this generation can be so much better than us. They've got a lot more pressure than we ever had. I just wish we would get out of their way a little bit, and just let them bump their head and grind a little bit. And they're going to be far better than us if we'll let them.
We pamper them sometimes too much. I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Growing
up, my dad, I turned 16. I was the last of 4. He shook my hand and said, congratulations, you're 16. You got to pay for everything except for your schooling.
Yeah.
Service, all that good stuff.
It does work. It does work. And it's just, it's kind of like a friend of mine always says, with all these gifted kids we have around, where are the gifted adults?
Well, define adult first.
Yeah.
Or gifted adult.
Yeah.
So I got a good question for you, my friend.
Okay.
Now that you're the head coach emeritus, am I saying that correctly?
Emeritus.
Big word for me.
Okay.
And, I know that Jessica's done a great job and still be involved and all that good stuff. So let's imagine that since I'm here with Dancin Pete Rhoda and his Georgia, you're going to to the girls and you're going to give your best pre-talk right now
to get them in the zone.
To get them in the zone right now to compete. Go ahead. Give us a few words that you would tell them.
Well, I don't use words as much as I do stories. I think everybody's got to kind of interpret their own piece. So probably take a little bit too long on this, but I usually use a story. the one I think is fitting what we're facing, what we just went through. And, usually has a little ending, very pointed ending, but along that time, each person's taking their own piece to it. But the one thing that I do want them to get off is I want them to get off hungry, and I want them to look at the team across the arena and think, those are the SOBs that made you have to work out at 5:30 in the morning. Those are the ones, they don't know what you've been through. They don't know the hard work you've done. They don't know the demands we've done. And I want them to get in there and take it from them. I want them to step off. When we get off the plane, get on the bus, I want them to step off that bus without an ounce of fear in them. But I want them ticked. That's what I think our problem is. I don't think we've been ticked enough.
There you go.
Yeah, I think this year we had one of the best groups of girls. I loved their attitudes. But I felt in my heart, I felt like I was a little bit entitled. So I bet some of them felt the same way. And so that's something you got to correct.
You believe attitude is the number one thing?
No, well, yes, in a way. I mean, listen, just the talent. I mean, you get these freaks of talent, and it's not just from hard work. It's when talent meets hard work. I'm not going to take away from their hard work, but the ones that win in this, the ones that will live in tennis, the ones that win in golf, they're formed in the womb, really. I mean, they're just gifted. I mean, you see people playing baseball, but there's just some of these arms that are tapped by God that, giving them a golden arm that's going to throw it 90 something miles an hour with pinpoint accuracy. And the same way with these riders, feel is just something you can try to help, but some of them are just born with an unbelievable amount of feel, and they can get things out of a horse.
Very good. Greg, we're going to move on for a few more questions.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The best riders, they know how to lose, learn, and lock back in. Share us some of your thoughts on this and how they're able to do this.
The best ones that I've seen, it boils down to one thing. They don't make excuses. The first thing they do is own up to it. And it's, even when the horse does something wrong that we saw it, very little they could have done. The really good riders say, probably in the maneuver before, if I would have done X, probably would have helped that horse not do that in the next maneuver. That's just owning up to it. I mean, it's once you blame something in any part of life, and we all do it, but as soon as you've done that, you're giving away the power. So that's just an important piece. Just don't give away the power. Keep the power, keep getting better. And it doesn't hurt you to own it. And it kind of really helps your attitude, and because you got to turn right around and get your other teammates to win their points. So, you got to snap out of it.
Better in the zone. That's one of my biggest issues that I have.
What's that?
Is to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
Why am I not getting that? Why didn't I get that deal? Why didn't I write a book? Why didn't I do this?
Yeah.
Well, what's stopping me?
Correct. Listen, and the more you're around talented people, the more you read, sometimes it can be a frustration. I have to speak sometimes on like leadership and stuff. Every time I'm kind of putting my thoughts together, I feel like such a failure all of a sudden. It doesn't. Listen, there's always more you can do. There's absolutely more that you can do.
I love that you're saying that, because that's so beneficial to professionals, to beginners.
Right.
We all think, oh, you have it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my students, no, I don't. I'm suffering with everything you're dealing with. I just have dealt with it before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
So you've watched hundreds of riders, partnerships with horses. What separates the connectors and the competitors? So you have somebody can deeply connect with the horse, and then you have somebody that just competes.
I think most of ours that win really do. They have a way to connect pretty quick. I mean, that's what I say, that feel gift that they have. I will say this, a difference. There are some that we call gamers. It happens in every sport, but there are some, they're good riders. They're good in practice, but man, all of a sudden when it's on the line, they hit levels that we never see in practice. I mean, just unbelievable. And so they're just gamers. And so that's an important part of having scrimmages and things. You got to find those, that just can't quite hit that level until they're trying to beat somebody. and they hit a whole new level.
So which one would you prefer?
If I had to just choose one, probably gamers, at least on game time, you can count on. They have just this rare ability to pull out all their best when it matters.
The U.S. Open, Billie Jean King's arena right there, Davis Lane right there, where pressure is a privilege. So this is my championship pressure question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach your athletes to handle the weight of the Auburn legacy when winning isn't a dream, it was the expectation?
Well, the one thing that we talk about, it's great to look at the past, but you have to build your own legacy. And I think that's something that this group has been working on. And I think now we've got an opportunity to do it. We've got a year without a ring. Again, it's the first time since 2017. And so we have an opportunity, I think, to get that extra bit of fight in us. And I think this year you'll see a different team. And I know in the years right after that, I feel like we're going to be rolling hard. And it's about that they've already identified that they have to build their own legacy.
So, Coach, if you could
and that's lead, yeah. So they had a cool turn. Instead of leave a legacy, what they are starting to say is lead a legacy.
So, Coach, if you could take you when you started the program and have him watch what you're doing now, what would be the biggest aha moment that he would go, "Oh, I should have done that earlier"?
About midway, one thing I had to do is stay true to yourself. And I just had this conversation with Coach Braswell yesterday. With just some deals, and she's gonna have to get a little bit more bold than she had been on this one subject as we were talking. I said, yeah, I would agree with that. I said, but just don't quit being yourself. Don't ever try to get tougher or madder or meaner or whatever. The worst I did was probably trying to emulate people in books I was reading. And that's not you. Listen, when you're reading books, when you're around successful people, it's becoming part of you, and just let that happen. Don't ever try to be somebody else. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I made as a young coach. Thankfully, it didn't last long. I lost a good rider, and we are great friends to this day. And it was years before she actually knew that was a turning point for me. And she just one day when she was leaving the team, she said, "You just changed." And I realized then I was just trying to be somebody else.
Wow, that's deep. On a personal note, tell us a little bit, one of your, since you're still active and being very active, and you used to ride pretty hard too. Tell us a little bit about your recovery tools that you're using, whether it's, journaling, cold showers, whatever. What are you doing to take care of yourself so you can stay?
Yeah. So, I am trying to use the cold showers. Funny you mentioned that. I see all the stuff about ice baths stuff. I absolutely hate ice baths and stuff. When I have broken bones, I'd sit there and put my foot in it. Girls on my team be sinking down to their neck. And, and here I am, I just told her, if I pull my foot out, said, unless I'm duck hunting and falling, I'm just not getting in ice water. So, we use the Beamer products, and that's something that's been huge for me. The fun thing is being a horseman. You guys are horse people. I know that you've got scientific data, but we can see a difference. We can tell a difference. I can't measure it for other people, but we love to use it in maintenance. But one of my favorite things that our barn manager does is really on meet day prep. Is the blankets they use on meet day prep. It's an integral part of setting the horses up, and they can tell the difference in that. So yes, I use Beamer products. I'm trying to get more into stretching and yoga. Something that's that's hard for me to put on my to-do list. But that's, I used to rodeo and I was not any good at it, so I pay for all that now. Those years of doing that. So all those are important tools for me.
What did you do in the rodeo?
I rode rough stock. My favorite event was bareback riding. I really wanted to be a bareback rider full time. I was a good roper, and I could make a good bit of money doing that. Bareback riding was just my passion. So just bareback horses, bulls. But I used to calf rope some too, but mostly team roping. Team roping and bareback horses.
What year was this?
In the late 70s, early 80s.
Very good.
Yeah. And it's I always say, thank goodness I wasn't good enough. So I quit that, got back in school, and married Sandy, who I'd met at the high school rodeo finals. Now we met in Wyoming. But
So rodeo, something for you.
if I'd have been good, no telling, I'd have.
So
Man.
what have you noticed by using the beamer for yourself on the human set, the EVA?
What can I tell? For me, so I think it's just still those injuries. It's more like some of it's arthritis and some of it is like stiffness. And I don't think it's just a complete removal of that. It feels like a whole systematic piece. But when I use it, then I just don't hurt as much. I just don't hurt as much. And so I say it makes this better. Just to me, it just makes me overall feel better. And but all the way down to the biggest thing I can tell almost about my success and health is how this wrist feels. And when it's feeling okay, really, I can start feeling, all of a sudden, my lower back's better today. It's
And that makes us
all
happy.
correlated. Yeah, absolutely.
When you're not feeling so good, you're feeling a little stiff or whatever, it makes it a little challenging to move forward.
Well, if using the products that we got have been good, because then I was using them from the barn, and it was like I just did that ride that Sandy did last year. That was what got us started on it. She was trying to fix that torn meniscus, and she was using that for that. Got her through this really big ride in Idaho, where you herd horses. You go about 75 miles in 4 days, herding horses through rough country. So I just did that with her this year, and I mean, she's doing great with it.
What advice would you give to a high school rider that wants to come and ride with you and be on the team? What would be the biggest thing for them to work on?
Well, if they're gonna, they're gonna have to have that talent. I mean, just it's like any other sport, but they're gonna have to get with a trainer that can get them there. They can get them to that level, and they're gonna have to ride a lot of horses. They can't just take lessons and get good enough. They're gonna have to ride a lot of horses, a lot of different horses, but a lot of time in the saddle. They still got to have that innate feel and talent that they just got to be born with. So I think just being very competitive, Barnes, and really outwork the people around you. And if you start beating them, you'll know. I mean, you'll know.
All right. My last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as an athlete or
Mm-hmm.
athlete, and as a coach, I want you to fill in the blank for me. Being in the zone isn't about being perfect. It's about being blank. What would you fill in?
Well, the process better. That's what we're talking about, just getting better every day. I mean, that's just, you can't, Pete talked about it. You can compare yourself to everybody else. And what they say, that jealousy or comparison is just a theft of joy. But you've got to just every day get somewhere better. Wherever you're starting, just get better. So that doesn't fit your one blank thing. What do you say? To be in the zone? Grit's always mine.
Well, being grit. Pete, this has been fun. Thanks, Greg, for joining us.
Oh, this is fun to me.
Like I'm in the zone.
Yeah. I think grittiness will just cover a lot of bases. Grittiness will get you out the door. Grittiness will make you work harder. Grittiness will just, people make you say, yeah, just hide and watch me.
Perfect. Coach Greg Lewis, thanks for joining us
All right.
on our podcast. We've been excited. I'm glad you're one of our first people to be on our podcast. And of course, we had to get you on to share this moment with us. So thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
See you. Thanks, Coach.
All right. I'm Greg Williams, Head Coach Emeritus for Auburn University, and I am in the zone with Robb Dancin, Pete Rhoda.